So the next concept is digging your ditches. So digging your ditch is a concept that I got from this book, but it's also derived from the Bible. There's a story in the Bible where basically this town um, was in a drought for a good while. And they were like, God, what should we do? Because, I mean, everything is dying, plants are dying. What are we going to do? Like, what do we do? And he said, dig some ditches. And, that made absolutely no sense. You're like, dig ditches? Like, what we digging ditches for? Ain't no rain happened in years or whatever. It may have been months or something like that. And but they listened and they dug those ditches, and then a flood came, and all the areas, and they were telling other people, people would be laughing at them like, what the heck are y'all digging ditches for? Like, it ain't rained in forever. And all the people who didn't dig those ditches, they got flooded out. And it was a story of faith, of how, like, you dig ditches and you prepare for what you want God to give you, or what you want the universe to bring to you. And even when you don't see anything in sight, that would indicate that you should do that. And there's different ways you can look at this story. Another way you can look at it is when you dig a ditch, it's just like humility. Sometimes life digs a ditch for you. Like, you may have an ego or something like that about something. You may think you know about something and you don't need to improve or something like that, and then something happens, or like maybe you get a bad review or something like that, and there's a part of you that knows that this is probably true, and it digs a ditch, and you can choose to say, I'm gonna quit music, I don't need to do this anymore. Or you can say, they might be right, I don't know everything, and I need to take heed to this, and there's more that I need to learn. So if you don't dig that ditch in your ego, then there's no room for you to listen. There's no room for you to grow, because you're to capacity. And sometimes it takes emptiness to be filled, and to allow knowledge or whatever you need to come into you. So pretty much it's like humility. So digging that ditch could be a sign of humility. And then when God blesses you, it doesn't overtake you. It doesn't flood your ego to where you say, oh yeah, I got that, I know what I'm doing. But instead, it just nourishes your plants. It allows the environment for what you have to grow. And you've dug your ditch so it doesn't overload you. It doesn't overflow. And you know what to do with what you have and things like that. So, and I feel like that's also another thing when it comes to like information overload, or equipment overload. And maybe you go to this school or something like this engineering school, and they have every possible thing you could ever dream of recording with, and they teach you about all this stuff. And then you get into a real world situation where it causes you to be an expert at this much stuff, and you don't know how to come back down to understand how to do that. Or maybe you only went to the college so you can learn how to master your own skills. So because you have all of this, you have to declutter all that just to get to this much that you really, really need. And that's another reason why I have my courses in the way that I do. They're very specific, they're very straightforward, and things like that, so you don't get crowded. Because when you can take this much and make it make this much product, and that's a big thing. And I talk about being a producer, not a consumer. When you can consume this much, and from this much you can produce this much, then you're doing something worthy, you're doing something good, because then that much can come to you and you know what to do with it. When you get this much, then you take this much, and then you can make this much. So that's my phone. But yes, so that's very important. So when you dig your ditches, so some of you, you had to step out on faith a little bit to spend some of the money to get this course, and you dug that ditch, and now you are able to feel, now there's rain coming down. There's something, you're, oh my gosh, there's so much I have to learn. But it's coming down, it's going to nourish you and allow you to produce more, and to take those seeds that you have inside of yourself and grow it into something beautiful, and the type of music that you've always wanted to do. So, and there's different things, you continue on that path, but it takes humility. And I think anybody who's doing this course, or any courses on creating what they want, they are digging ditches, and beautiful things will happen to you. Beautiful things happen to me, and that's why I'm here, because I've dug ditches and I've taken online courses that, I couldn't afford. I've taken online courses on how to do online courses, you know what I mean? And so it's just very important to continue to do that and to demonstrate that faith. So that is digging your ditches, and I recommend, and also even with financial, so I didn't talk about that, but with financial blessings, if you want to have more, then you have to give more. So an example of digging a ditch, like I remember, reading about this concept, and I wanted to have more financial stability, or, I wanted to grow my finances. And I had a certain amount of money, and I went to this restaurant, and, a restaurant I go to a lot, and they had a guy, I had a waitress, and let me rewind. Before I went to this restaurant, I got the thought to give $100 tip, just from thinking about going to the restaurant. Because at first I was thinking, I shouldn't spend this money. I shouldn't go to this restaurant because, I want to have, whatever, keep this money, whatever the case may be. And when I got the impulse to, go to this restaurant, and not only should you go to this restaurant, but you should give $100 tip. And immediately my senses, I was just like, what do you mean give $100 tip? I got scared. I was like, I don't have that much money in the bank account. What you want me to get one? Like, and that part so you want me, but it sounds crazy, but that's like, and I'm going to talk about like listening to hunches from the universe or whatever, and from your inner being. And I was just like, you want me to spend $100? And I'm trying to figure out not figure out, I have the money, but you know what I mean? It's just, and that was an act of faith to be like, okay, I'm gonna do it. Okay? I'm gonna go to the restaurant, I'm gonna pay for the food, and I'm gonna give $100 tip. I was kind of like, if I feel meant, if I feel led, if I'm getting good service and things like that, then I will give that $100 tip. You know what I mean? It was like, really? I'd never get a $100 tip. I'd never get a $50 tip. So $100, like, what? So I went in, and I ate my food, and my waitress was just rude. She was just like, she was older, and she was probably in her 40s, and she just kind of like was just standoffish, like she knew I was young. And I was wearing athletic clothes, so when I wear athletic clothes, I look like I'm 12. So she just kind of like, and then servicing some older people that were next to me, like, best friends. But she come up here, what do you need? Okay, great. And I have food, like, sitting there, like, waiting for my food forever. And then this other guy, he's, like, probably my age, he came. And he brought me my coffee because they're, I don't know, tag teaming or something like that. And he looked at one of my books. I think it was Mastery or something. No, it was The Artist's Way. Love that book. I'm probably going to talk a lot about this because some of the concepts is from that too. But I was reading The Artist's Way, and he was like, oh, that's a cool book. Do you like that book? I was like, yeah, it's a really awesome book. And he's like, yeah, I went to an art show the other day, and, it was just beautiful, and da-da-da-da. And I was like, okay, cool, that's great. And I could tell he's kind of like a little bit off. And, I don't know how you explain off, but everybody knows. You know what I'm talking about. He was just like a little loopy, a little bit, like kind of, And I can tell that he probably got teased there, which I'm not a fan of ever. But he was really, really nice. And I was like, if I give a tip, I'm going to give it to him because he took an interest in me and he really served me. And right when the lady came back after him, I think he forgot. I like whipped cream on the side, you know what I'm saying? I don't know about you and my coffee. But she came, and also, no, this is what it was. He didn't pour the coffee for me, whatever. And I was fine with that. I didn't care because he gave me service. So this lady, she's like, oh, he didn't even pour you the coffee? That's ridiculous. I would have poured the coffee. I'm like, you didn't even give me good service. What do you mean you would have poured the coffee? And then she walked off or whatever. And I was like, wow, that makes no sense. So at the end of it, because she never gave me good service, I went to the front to pay for my food, and they had her ring me up, so I pretty much give her a tip. And I could tell she was trying to, like, hold the money or whatever, like, are you gonna give me a tip? And I gave her the change, like, it was like $15, whatever. I gave her $20, and I was like, oh, you can keep the change. And I could tell she was, like, taking extra long, so I could give her the change. I was like, yeah, whatever, you take this $5. And then I went to him, and I gave him $100 bill, because I took $100 out, so I could possibly do that. And I walked to the back, and I gave him $100 bill. And he was like, this is for me? And I was like, yeah, it's for you. And I could tell, like, that just kind of, like, changed his whole mood. I have no idea what he was going through or whatever the case may be, but I feel like it really boosted his confidence, and it just, I don't know, it felt really, really, really good. And when I left, I could tell that they were talking about it, and the lady who pretty much made fun of him and was talking bad about him felt some type of way, because she should have, like, she didn't get good quality service. And I thought that was a really beautiful experience, and then I left, and I felt really good. And then not long after that, I was blessed with more money, and I think just digging that ditch and just, like, feeling what it felt to have that abundance and feeling like, you know, you can try to hold the money to yourself and things like that, and, you know, I'm trying to do better myself. And even with creating this whole course, like, just sharing my knowledge, not taking my knowledge and doing this and sharing it, stepping out on faith and sharing it, digging that ditch of spending the money to create it and taking all these years to learn all this stuff, and then giving it to other people. And I think that is where abundance really is like sharing what you have to get. If you want to get more of something, then you make somebody else successful. If you want more money, you give someone else more money. You make somebody else feel abundant and rich. I'm sure he felt rich with, you know, $100, like, for me. And, like, I don't know, you know, if I've worked for tips before, and if I've never gotten a $100 tip. I knew how I felt when I got $20 tips. I was like, oh, I'm rich. So that's wonderful, and it feels good to give that type of tip too. So that's just you step out on faith and dig those ditches. And I will talk to you about another technique that you can use to demonstrate faith to create more of what you want next.